Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. The last bhajan. If we try to analyze, what does it touch and kindle in our mind? The words are there, which is visible, but that which touches and kindles is invisible. Kindly think about it. Words and expressions are palpable. We can see it. But what it touches and kindles in every one of us, that we cannot express. Nirgun, Sagun. So the indwelling reality and the all-pervading reality is Nirgun. The power because of which the words are now coming, the power because of which the words are being heard, it is not palpable, it cannot be shown. So as spiritual aspirants, we have to hold on to some form. So when this truth is revealed to us by a spiritual preceptor, Guru, through Guru, who has got a form, name and form, we try to connect ourselves with the Nirguna aspect. So this particular bhajan is a combination of both. All are blessed to have some association with a spiritual preceptor, Guru. So he says in the first, your abundance grace, my Sadguru, is the support of my life. It is only my strength. Had we not come in contact with Guru, we will not know that there is an indwelling and all-pervading reality. Only by your grace, otherwise we were in the common run of life. Early morning when we get up, we identify with the family, and then when we move to the field of profession, we become a professional being. And when we are with our friends, we are a social being. Life is going like that. Beyond this life, we have not applied, we have not been touched and kindled. But the moment God facilitates us to get in touch with the spiritual preceptor through some instrumental cause, He reveals. So He is our support. At the same time, when Papa said God and Guru are one, it was difficult for us to understand. Now we understand. Through the Guru, we are in touch with Him. Through the words, we are in touch with the fullness inside. Next line. Mind filled with ignorance, doubts, negative thoughts is submerged in darkness, which is dispelled by the words of wisdom and your grace. As soon as we came, Baiji said, you light the lamp. That is the first. In our Sanatana Dharma, this is the first one. What does it signify? It is not lighting the lamp alone. We are trying to light the lamp within. Andhakar dur se, Man ke andhakar ko dur kare. विपरीत विचारों से भी भरे, अज्ञान से भरे, संशय से भरे. Beautiful. Mind filled with ignorance, doubts, negative thoughts, submerged in darkness, which is dispelled by words of wisdom and your grace. That is why every program starts with lighting the lamp. Symbolically, we are trying, this will help me to get rid of all my negativities, doubts. darkness, ignorance, and then all because God made me to get in touch with you. To know His presence, I need somebody. Then, pale pale, pag pag, jeevane path. Guru saath mere rakshak bankar. Every moment, every step of my life, my Guru is with me as my protector. This is a very important word. It is not a program, it is not a bhajan that we sing and go away. We keep on repeating this to ourselves. God, who has come in the form of a Guru, spiritual preceptor, we are affirming, we are asserting, you are with me always, because that is my support. We may be doing work, we may be laughing, we may be crying, we may be involved in various activities, but somewhere in the corner of my mind, the Guru is there for me to hold on. Every moment, every step of my life, my Guru is with me as my protector. Let me never forget this. Let me never forget this loving, blissful, abundant grace. Because even now I realize He is there, but even before realizing, He has been with me. He did not expect anything from me. Unconditional. So we have to keep on hammering this word. He is ever with me. He has been with me. God's presence, I have to keep on remembering. I don't know. But suddenly, that is remembrance nirguna. But I need a Guru to touch and kindle in me. And He is with me in the form of remembrance. Even if they have dropped the body, He is there in the form of remembrance. We remember Vinobaji telling us, writing in his book, Moved by Love, when Mahatma Ji passed away, assassinated, he was in Delhi, Vinobaji was in Pavana, near Nagpur. Word was conveyed, no reaction. Later on the next day in Sevagram, Varda, program was arranged. There he couldn't control himself. He couldn't utter a word. And then he wrote, I am not missing him. The moment I close, Bapuji is before me. Previously, whenever I want to meet him, I have to write to him, I have to get an appointment, whether he is there, where he is there, whether he will be able to give me time. Now, all that I have to do is to close my eyes and bring him before my mind. And I can have consultation with him. So this word, So every moment, every step, whenever we are in doubt, whenever we are in conflict, inner conflict, we just close our eyes and bring him into a picture, mental vision. The moment we bring him, you will feel mysteriously you have gained back yourself. This is not an attachment to the form, because you now realize that the Guru stands for the Nirguna aspect. Now it is becoming clearer to all of us. When Puja Mataji was telling Papa, we were not aware. Why is she bringing the word Papa while she defines Papa as the Nirguna Nirakara Shashwata Ananda Swarup, which is absolutely Nirguna. But again, why she is bringing? Because this form is familiar to us. That charming form, that inspiring form. So it is easy for us to see the Nirguna through Saguna. So this line, this is all practically possible, no? Everybody will be having a spiritual preceptor who has touched and kindled that something more than this life is there. So we remember him, we bring him into our picture. And then the beautiful words, Every moment, every step of my life, my Guru is with me as my protector. Let me never forget this loving, blissful, abundant grace. So, before we enter into the text, In Quest of God, one small video. This is a shloka from Vivek Chudamani. Why we are prompted to bring it? Normally we go to a discourse or a satsang, we read a book, we attend Ramnam, we sing, we render bhajans, glorifying his Mahima. And when we go back, many times or mostly, we are back to our own usual self. So in this shloka, Shankaracharya beautifully brings out what should be followed. So there is a small story attached to it. Unearthing the treasure within. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Unearthing the treasure within. During the Sannyas centenary year of beloved Papa, a year-long in-depth study was undertaken on Papa's first book, In Quest of God, from 27th December 2021 to this year, 2022. Sadhakas should know that the purpose of the in-depth study of beloved Papa's In Quest of God is to experience the presence of the indwelling and all-pervading reality Ram. Only by delving deep into the text through regular and persistent efforts to contemplate, reflect and meditate on the theme contained therein, this can be achieved. Certainly not by merely reading the text at the surface level. In Vivek Chudamani reminds us of this salient factor. While exploring the exceptional journey of self-discovery, a profound sloka number 65, from Vivek Chudamani offered us a unique understanding of this in-depth study of In Quest of God. Parampuja Adi Shankara's Vivek Chudamani is undoubtedly a masterpiece of Advaita philosophy and perhaps his most famous non-commentarial work that expounds Vedanta in all its glory and grandeur. The sloka reads, Aptoktim khananam tatho perishila dukkarshanam svikritim nikshepa samkshepate nahibahi shabdaistu nirgacchati tadvad brahma vidopadesha manana dhyanadivirlabhyate maya karya tirohitam swamamalam tattvam na duryuktivihi. Meaning is, as a treasure hidden underground requires for its extraction competent instruction, first thing, then followed by excavation and removal of stones and other things lying about, and finally grasping, but never comes out by merely being called out by name. Similarly, the transparent truth of the self, the indwelling reality, which is hidden by Maya and its effects, is to be attained through the instruction of a knower of Brahman, followed by reflection, meditation, and so forth, but not through perverted arguments. To better understand the purport of the shloka, we remember Puja Swami Chinmayanandaji. He used to narrate a story of two families who were living in the same neighborhood. Two families were living in the same neighborhood. They were close to each other, distance-wise as well as emotionally. They used to join in each other's celebration at both houses. Children of one house would often go and play in the other house. In fact, there was no sense of otherness among them. One day, unexpectedly, the head of a family passed away. The members of the other family rushed to help them during their grief-stricken moments. They tried to console the wife and children and assisted them in carrying out the last rites and all the rituals thereafter. On the 13th day, as the rituals got over, the eldest in the grieving family approached the head of the other family. Uncle, we were looking for the savings our father had made over the years, but couldn't find any. We are worried about how we are going to survive from now onwards. Uncle replied, Oh, don't worry. Your dad has worked hard and made a good savings for your family. But there is a condition. You have to make an effort to get it and not to be satisfied by merely calling the treasure to come out. Go to the room in the right side of your house. There you would find among the floor tiles one rather loose tile unattached to the floor. Wait till it's midnight, preferably early in the morning, and the whole neighborhood is asleep. Gather all necessary tools for excavation. Go to the room, remove the loose tile, and start digging down. Uncle added, There will be plenty of debris. Don't throw them around. Keep them on a side. Make sure that there is no publicity for this whole exercise. It may take few nights to finish digging. Never get dejected or dispirited. Have faith in the words of your father. As you keep digging, one day you will hear the sound of your digging tool hitting on a metallic thing. It would be a copper vessel. Don't damage it. Lift it up. Remove the cover on the top. Inside you will find the treasure your father had saved. This will be enough to take care a few generations of you. Believing in his instructions, they went back to their house and did exactly how they were instructed, perseveringly, without fail. They never doubted his words. They were never complacent in following the instructions. Finally, they found the treasure at the end of a long and hard search. This story is a fictionalized version of our spiritual journey. On a deeper reflection of the story, you may find 5 phases there. First is struggle, then quest, followed by faith, and then practice, and finally self-discovery. First is struggle. In this story, the family that loses their head is facing a serious setback in their life. Life is full of ups and downs, pleasure and pain, and success and failures. Often expectation is one thing, but reality is something else. Nobody's life is a bed of roses from the beginning to the end. A person becomes a seeker when he realizes that nothing is eternal in his life and everything that he was holding dear is ephemeral. Next is quest. When the heartbroken family came to know that they were in deep trouble and utterly helpless, They went to the person whom they deeply trusted and whose wisdom they unconditionally believed. When a seeker realizes that he needs guidance on the direction of his spiritual journey by divine providence, a guru, personal or impersonal, arrives to direct him towards the ultimate goal. The quest begins when we are humble enough to admit that where we are now is nowhere near where we need to reach. Faith. In this story, the grieving family has full faith in their advisor and faithfully followed his instructions. In life, finding one's guru is only a beginning, not an end in itself. One has to have unconditional faith in his wisdom and faithfully follow his instructions. It is worth remembering that what we see as a butterfly is the culmination of a transformative journey of a caterpillar. The smooth pebbles we see at the seashore started their journey as rough-edged rock pieces. Practice. Having received the instructions, the grieving family, without any doubt or trepidation, acts on his words in right earnest. Every aspirant has to keep this in mind. The Guru is a guide to the destination, not the destination in itself. Having found the Guru is not enough. One has to practice his precepts unfailingly. Finding a signpost is important, but it is even more important to walk in the direction with faith, conviction, and commitment. Self-discovery. If we decide to follow our Guru's message, we will have to dig deep into our inner resources. As we go deeper, we will find that the divine treasure we are searching is already within us. From the very beginning, we have been searching outside all over, like the musk deer in the Upanishad story, frantically searching for the divine aroma. Every drop in the ocean contains the trace of salinity. Every one of us contains the essence of divinity. In Beloved Papa's words, be conscious always that the God that you pray to is within you and everywhere about you. His protection and grace are there ever for you. Be always aware that He is guiding you from within.
So, for the sake of all bhaktas and spiritual aspirants, Param Pujya Papa Swami Ramdas, founder of the Ananda Ashram, when he set out on this Parivraja Yatra in 1921, and when he came back, he recorded all his experiences right from the start. That is entitled as In Quest of God. So during the last 1 year, Ashram devotees were deeply involved in this in-depth study. There are about 37 chapters. The first chapter starts with the stress he had. As soon as we open the text, the first chapter portrays the picture of a person who was deeply stressed. Papa's words, for nearly a year, Ramdas struggled on in a world full of chaos, anxieties and pains. It was a period of terrible stress and restlessness, all of his own making. In this utterly helpless condition, full of misery, where is relief, where is rest? This was the heart's cry of Ramdas. So this is how this journey begins, And in the 37th chapter, he says, the last few lines, reveal the transformation from stress to serenity that had taken place within him in the course of almost a year. His life was totally surrendered to the divine. Ever at peace, ever in bliss. He says, the last line of the book, Ramdas stays by Ram's command in a cave called Panchpandava Cave on the Kadri Hill in Bangalore, and lives there a serene life, devoting his whole time in talking about, writing of, meditating on that all-loving, glorious Ram. So this is the message he gives. A stressful mind not only prays, subjects itself to go through a certain disciplines, and the end result is he is blessed with serenity. So first of all, when we talk about in quest of God, this should be clear to us. Then we move to the title itself, In Quest of God. Papa used to say a right concept, that before we start the spiritual journey, we should have the right concept of God. There are many, he says, there are many who are doing sadhana. They do not know why they are doing it. Their conception of God is very limited and narrow. They must have in the first place a right conception of God before they try to attain Him. So before the first chapter starts, he defines, the God, Ram. So he says, O Ram, the truth, the love, the goal of human perfection, all hail, all hail. So he says, truth. What is truth? That which always remains. That which always remains is called truth. And love. Love means absence of otherness. So the first and foremost clarity an aspirant needs while in quest of God is to have the right concept of God, addressed by beloved Papa as Ram. This can be gained from this article, the first article, that means before the first chapter. When he introduces the name Ram, he wants to define what Ram stands for. So he says, God is the truth, love, the goal of human perfection. So truth means that which always remains. Love means absence of otherness. That means when we have identified the common factor in everybody, there is no another. It's an uphill task, no doubt about it. But let us fix it up as the goal to be scaled. Absence of otherness. And then the goal of human perfection, a state of completeness, flawlessness, or supreme excellence. The moment you see a flower, a fruit, a grain, you see how beautiful it is, Excellence in its presentation. The sky, the earth, the water. So a completeness, state of completeness, flawlessness, or supreme excellence. And then, most important thing, he says, the subtle and mysterious power. When we started trying to understand, Peace Pilgrim helped us, Peace Pilgrim, the other day we shared, many of you might know, a very highly spiritually involved soul in USA. She took a yatra, just like Papa's in quest of God, 25,000 miles from New Mexico. And nothing to fall back upon, excepting a few requisites that she puts in her dress. But the whole, whatever places she visited, whatever situation she was
confronted with, whoever persons she met with, everywhere she could find only God and God everywhere. So she was asked, kindly define what is God. She gave this beautiful, understandable definition. The creative force, the sustaining power, that which motivates towards constant change, overall intelligence, goodness, kindness, beauty, the ever-present, all-pervading essence or spirit, which binds everything in the universe together, gives life to everything. So in this article, Papa introduces, when he always says Ram, 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 that Ram stands for these attributes. Beloved Papa emphatically states that the above can be well understood by humbling ourselves to such a degree as to totally subdue our egoism, our self-assertion as a separate individual existence. We cannot exist by ourselves. This truth many of us are not aware. Though the mind has been arrogating that I have done this, I have done that, I am brought up like this, I was able to do this, I was able to do that, this is mine, that is mine. Actually, when we try to go to the source of all others, our sources and the source of the entire objects, we find we are not the originator. God gave us this life. That means, in other words, as Nisargadatta Maharaj puts it, we were not consulted when we were in the form of a seed in my mother's womb. This present me in me was not consulted. I had no role. So to keep on hammering this, many a time we have repeated this during our satsangs in US. This is a very important point. Because he says, Papa emphatically says, the above can be well understood by humbling ourselves to such a degree as to totally subdue our egoism, our self-assertion as a separate individual existence. I am what I am because of the factors other than me. The life force to begin with, and the mother nature and the society. Bereft of these three, I cannot exist. I owe everything to these three factors. But for life, I will not be sitting. But for this breathing, but for water, but for earth, but for space, but for the 98.4 degree, I will not be able to talk. And whatever I talk, right from the language, I have not brought this language. I have not brought this mic, electricity, TV, laptop, tablet. Anything that I use from the morning till evening, it has been contributed by him through many of his creations. So this we have to keep on hammering. That's what Papa says. The above can be well understood that he is the creative force, the sustaining power, that which motivates towards constant change, overall intelligence, goodness, kindness, beauty, the ever-present, all-pervading essence or spirit, which binds everything in the universe together, gives life to everything. And he is truth, absence of otherness, a state of completeness, flawlessness, a supreme excellence. So all these can be ourselves, we should be humble enough. And then, how does it get expressed? Having reached this stage, through an awakened consciousness of Ram, this principle, we will be naturally prompted to sacrifice all the interests that concern the body for the welfare of our fellow men and fellow creatures, who are all manifestations of the same Ram. The moment I start thinking that I owe everything to this creation, slowly I start. How do I serve the creation? And through the creation to the Creator.
This is how we started. And there are about 37 chapters. The first and second chapter prepares the background. And from the third chapter, he sets on foot. So, it is very difficult to bring everything in this half an hour or 1 hour. During our 1 year exploration, we went through each and every chapter. What does it convey to my life today? With this approach, we again went through it, and then we were able to unearth about 198 points and brought it out. 198 points also we cannot cover in this small session. It's also ruled out. Again, some filtering we have done. It is not full and complete or perfect, but still something for all of us to remember. So first thing is, we should have the right concept of God. Second thing is, God's relevance, in my life. Then only I can be in quest of God. And it is not running away from any responsibility. Papa was not sitting in a cave. He was very much with the society. He was subjecting himself to the various types of responses, various types of treatment meted out to him. Some are positive, some are, in our language, some are positive, some are negative. Some are adverse, some are soothing. But everywhere he was able to keep up the same balance, samatvam. Because he knew that God is behind everything. He was staying with grihasthas, he was staying with the professionals, he was staying alone, one with the nature. So here he presents to us that he is there in every form, in every object, in every situation. All that we have to keep on hammering to our brain, that he is there within us and also without us. And whatever we are now, it has been assigned to us. We are doing his job. If we are having a family, he made us to have a family life. When we are working, he made us to become a professional, in our field of profession. When we are, a friend circle is there, he made us to become a member of his own creation. So, according to him, spirituality and mundane life, there is no divide. There is a happy and harmonious blending of these two. And just like when we take the ECG, you find the reading, it is never like this. Similarly, the life is always ups and downs will be there in our life. But every time we don't lose the balance. When we are driving the vehicle, we are alert, All activities are going on. Your hands are on the steering, legs are on the accelerator, brake. You try to access the gear, if there is a gear now, I don't know. So many things. At the same time, you are conscious of the vehicle that is coming or going along with you. Every time, the beautiful coordination takes place. Similarly, in all our daily activities, this alertness should be there. Here the alertness means riveting ourselves to the power. Just like the person who drives the vehicle reaches the destination, we have been assured, promised by seers who have scaled the heights,
that you drive the life with this. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyaja. Therefore, at all times and in all places, remember me and fight the battle of life. So, in quest of God, at each chapter will have only 2 or 3 pages, excepting 1 or 2. That's all. Small chapter. But you will find in these 37 chapters, 400 times he has repeated the word Ram. What does it mean? When he says constant remembrance, behind every individual, behind every situation, he was not seeing them as separate. One or two examples, that's all we have. Due to paucity of time, we have to limit ourselves. In Ajmer, he was asked to get down because he doesn't have any ticket. Rameshwaram, we will begin with Rameshwaram. As the train was reaching Rameshwaram, before a few miles there was a station. The ticket collector came and found that they were not having the tickets. So he asked them to get down. When Papa immediately obeyed, Papa also had a guide. He names him as Sadhuram. As soon as they were driven out to the railway station, the Sadhuram started grumbling and complaining. Why should he not allow us to go? We have got 6 miles to go. Immediately Papa says, normally pilgrims are to be done on foot. Here Ram has been kind enough to travel up to this by train. We have only 6 miles to go. You see the word? 6 miles to go. This is one aspect. Only 6 miles to go. A great profound principle he brings. In a seemingly negative situation, you should bring the positive aspect in it. Similarly, in Ajmer station, when he was asked to get down, he was chased out by the railway police. Finally, he was led to where he found nobody was there to disturb him. So there was a tree underneath, he stretched himself. When he stretched himself, his nose came in contact with the earth and suddenly he started smelling urine there. That means that was the place used by people to pass urine. Just imagine that particular word. In due course he reached Ajmer. It was night. While he was resting in the station along with some other sadhus, who also had arrived by the same train, the railway police objected and asked all of them to go out. He sought a place under a tree in front of the station within the compound. But here again the policeman interfered and drove him away. Knocking about for some time, he saw at last a spot under another tree in a far-off corner of the railway compound. As he had nothing to spread on the floor, he lay himself down on the bare ground. When his nose came in close proximity with the ground, he felt the strong smell of urine. See now O Ram, how kind you are. You make your humble slave pass through every kind of experience, all for his own good. This condition taught him further, still, what a folly it was to make much of this perishable body. Many of us, the moment we read, when the first shloka, Aptoktim Karanam, little manana is necessary, So we look at it. We all carry stool and urine within us. Do we hate ourselves? The phlegm is there, the sweat is there, the stool is there, and the urine is there. We dress ourselves, make ourselves presentable outward, but we are carrying. This condition taught him further still the folly it was to make much of this perishable body. It also tended greatly to make him find his true level, which is indeed very, very low. In spite of this, he felt humble enough to say it was very low. To afford him the benefit of this experience over Ram, the alone appeared as the policeman and brought about these circumstances. Here Ramdas, the child of Ram, slept soundly till morning in the loving embrace of that all-powerful being Ram. When we were children, when we were passing stools or urine, what was our mother doing? No? Think. So what was it that did not complain or grumble? It was love, Extension of oneself to another makes us oblivious of all these so-called labeled negative factors. A great principle. First of all, we try to understand the perishability of this body, though it is the residence for us, it's called ayatanam, bhoga ayatanam. It is a hutment of experience, but at the same time we should know, just like we know the plus points, we should also know the minus points. Though outwardly we make a presentable appearance, inside everything is there. Whatever comes out of us, we don't take it back. This truth hardly we know. So like this in every chapter, early morning at 5 o'clock, he and the Sadhu Ram started on foot from a place called Tirupapuliyur in Tamil Nadu to Pondicherry to have the darshan of Sri Aurobindo. 20 miles, 32 kilometers. You can imagine in a hot sun on the tar road or a metal road with no chappal, early morning without any food. These two started walking and reached Pondicherry by noon. When they reached, in the course of the day there was a talk about Pondicherry, which Ramdas came to know lay only at a distance of 20 miles from Tirupapuliyur. A desire sprang up in his mind to visit the place for the darshan of Sri Aurobindo, the great Bengali saint. The wish was expressed to the Sadhu Ram. He agreed it at once. The following morning, early before sunrise, both started of course on foot and went towards Pondicherry. At about 2 p.m., early before the sunrise, they have started. The outskirts of the city of Pondicherry were reached. After knocking about for some time, the gate to the palatial building was pointed out by a friend, wherein the sadhus were told the saint was residing. Entering, Ramdas inquired of the two young Bengalis, whom he met in one of the rooms at the entrance, if Saint Sri Aurobindo could be seen. To this, one of them replied, "Sorry, since Aurobindo is in retirement, he will not give audience to anybody for a year to come." Ramdas then begged the favor of a mere sight of the great man, which would satisfy him. Even this favor could not be granted. It was all Ram's wish. See? Just imagine we walk 20 miles to see him. What an amount of fuss we will make. How did he take it? And then another drama is going on. While this was going on, a policeman was observed to be approaching the spot where the sadhus were standing. Coming to them, the policeman said, "Friends, you are wanted at the police station. You have to follow." Sadhu Ram was immediately frightened, and pulling Ramdas aside, whispered to him that most probably the policeman was taken to be flogged. Ramdas suggested they might accompany the policeman, leave the future in the hands of Ram.
After about half a mile's walk, the police station was reached, and the sadhus found themselves standing in front of a tall man of middle age with fierce looks, well-curved and twisted moustache. He spoke something sternly which could not be grasped, for he must have done so in French. Pondicherry was a French territory until it was freed from the French. A reply in English was given by Ramdas, and the man, who seemed to be a police inspector, simply stared in return to indicate that he did not understand what was spoken. Then a talk in Tamil ensued between him and the Sadhu Ram. The import of what police inspector said was that only 2 hours were allowed for the sadhus to clear out of the city. At this, the Sadhu Ram remonstrated that after a walk of 20 miles at a stretch, the tired pilgrims required some rest, and they preferred to remain in the city for the night and leave the next morning. The reply not only did not satisfy the inspector, but also appeared to offend him a bit. For now he talked fast, his eyes glistening, his hands twisting, his moustache furiously. The allowance of 2 hours was reduced to 1 hour. And if they did not obey the orders promptly, he warned that they would be made to pay for it. This time the words he spoke were freely spiced here and there with some finely selected epithets of abuse. The Sadhu Ram at once pressed Ramdas to move away swiftly from their place for very life. He was, poor man, both frightened and annoyed at the sharp words of the inspector. Then a few yards off the station, this is the very important one. The Sadhu Ram commenced to pour quite a shower of abuse on the inspector. No amount of persuasion on the part of Ramdas for peace would stop the brisk play of his tongue. He was assured that it was all Ram's wish, and so there was no reason to grumble. Still he continued to give vent to choice epithets of abuse. He seemed to be quite a master in that line. For about a mile, the Sadhu Ram's wrath did not cool down. Gradually he became silent, maybe due to exhaustion of his stock of vocabulary or on account of his empty stomach. Or it might have been all a trick of Ram. Now you see, this is the word. Or it might have been a trick of Ram to test Ramdas if he would join him in the game set on foot by him. Ram alone knows, he alone can judge. Every time when we go through the text, we find ourselves either similar or something. We try to pool all our energies for achieving a target, and finally, for some reason unknown to us, we miss it, and what happens to us? How do we take? So when we say in quest of God, repeatedly he brings this word Ram. That means he is with us always. Actually, we are not in quest of God. The starting point and the ending point is the same. Papa keeps on reminding. He is with you. First we read in a Guru, ever with you, protecting you, guiding you. This is the central message of In Quest of God. Another type of experience. Now the train was running. On the front seat, facing Ramdas, were seated 2 young Hindus, English educated. Both of them stared for some time at this strange, careless and quaint sannyasi, that is Ramdas, in front of them. Then one of them remarked to the other in English. They thought the sannyasi before them was ignorant of the English language. Mark closely the sadhu facing us. He belongs, take my word, to a class of sannyasis who are perfect humbugs. The fellow has adopted this mode of life simply as a means of eking out his livelihood. This man is a veritable impostor and a hoax. This observation was highly approved by the other party, who held a similar opinion of poor Ramdas. They spoke something more which he could not clearly catch owing to the rolling sound of the running train. O Ram, how kind of thee to put Ramdas in a situation in which he is made to hear himself spoken of in this manner.
Instead of feeling annoyed, he sent up a prayer to Ram to bless the young men for their frankness. Further, Ramdas could not resist the expression of his gratitude to these friends and thus addressed them with hands folded in salute. O kind friends, it gives Ramdas great pleasure to confess that he is in full agreement with the view you have expressed about him. It is perfectly true that he is a fraud. He has simply put on these robes of a sannyasi in order to find a living thereby. But one thing more you discover in him, that is, he is mad of Ram, and every moment he cries out to him to make him pure, and only live for Ram's sake. Besides, it is his humble presumption that Ram is taking him on this pilgrimage to purify him. This speech surprised both the friends, not so much on account of his import as the knowledge it brought them that the vagrant sannyasi could understand English and therefore had grasped the purport of their remarks, which were never intended to be known to him. A sudden change came over them. Both fell at his feet and sought his pardon for their thoughtless remarks, as they termed them. Thereafter, they became very solicitous and kind. They inquired if he had required anything to eat. This was a reminder to him that he had not tasted anything the whole of that day, a circumstance which he had entirely forgotten. He then told the two friends that he was mainly living upon fruits and would gladly accept any alms from them. After some consultation with the Sadhu Ram, the guide, they handed over to him some money for the purchase of fruits. Ram's ways are indeed inscrutable. He is all love, all kindness. So each chapter contains anecdotes like this. We are not worried as to what happened to him in 100 years back. But we are definitely made to think, probably not in the same manner. Somebody will bully us, somebody will mock at us. At that time, if we think them as individual, we react on that plane. But if we try to bring in the other dimension, we may not be able to deal as Papa dealt, but certainly there will be a cushioning in us. There will be a sattvic approach towards them. We remember when we were working in a coffee estate, there was a demand from the laborers that there should be a hike in their wages. So ultimately, when the owners, growers association and the union could not find an answer for this, it was referred to the government, and the labor commissioner, that's what they say at the state level, he convened a conciliation conference where these owners of the estates and the union leaders, the representatives from these two segments were there. Somehow when discussions were going on, one owner, the union leaders will use a language where in India, probably not here, it will be aggressive in there on those days. Nowadays they are passive, very aggressive. So somebody lost temper on the grower side. He also said, let us see what will happen. So he became heated. So one matured person from the owner's side got up. He said, please keep quiet. And he immediately said, coffee industry, the estate, it requires manual labors. There cannot be any mechanized way. So the owners and the laborers are like interwoven factors. We cannot exist without you. You cannot exist without us. We quite agree with you. Probably the way in which he has presented is not clear. That is why it has triggered this. Please calm down. the government has got all statistics as to what is our income in terms of productivity. Suppose I have got 10 acres, they have got the statistics what this 10 acre can produce. And the entire produce was then centralized through a government agency called Coffee Board, so they know the price, what we get. So you can work out what is the income we get. And suppose you raise a hike, whether it is workable or not. Suddenly we were there present, this had happened in 71, 72, and we could see suddenly they started thinking, the goodness was touched in them. There was a pause moment. All that heated mood was diluted. And then the Labour Commissioner said, a few representatives from this side will sit. And this man said, we know the cost of living is going up and up, so you are right in asking for a hike. To what extent we can give, that we will work it out. We will definitely do something. The whole thing settled down. Why we remember this, how do we deal with men and matters? In an explosive situation, it could have led to terrible violence in every estate. Because they can give a call to all the laborers. And on those days, the politicians were making them restless. And they will be given some instruction and the violence. We all have faced it. But this person, the balanced man, when he touched the kindliness, the good in him, just like Papa touched the goodness in them, without getting annoyed. It's a great lesson for all of us in our daily life. There may be umpteen number of occasions when such things will crop up. How do we deal with it? Instead of simply blaming it and jumping into it. So similarly, every chapter gives us some points to refine ourselves, to polish ourselves, wherein we are not doing it for superficial level, just to avoid, no. We are trying to see the common factor in all of us and then try to deal with men and matters. A very important salient factor. So we try, whenever we read in something, we try to integrate it with our personal experience. Then only it becomes a part of us. Otherwise it is, if somebody says something about somebody's experience and you hear, we go. Suppose now we start trying to bring back all experiences in our life. We would have lost our temper, we would have asserted, we would have done so many things, we would have created ripples in the minds of so many people, knowingly, unknowingly, and we have not understood the value. So the samatva means that, equanimity. So in one word, spirituality is that which makes us to deal everything with a sense of equanimity, samatva attitude. Pause. We don't immediately react to events and individuals. There must be a reason. And I still remember that person got up. I think all this commotion took place because we have not presented the way in which it should have been presented. Because it came from his heart, it touched the hand. He was not blaming the other party. He said the whole commotion took place because we feel it has not been presented before you the way in which it should have been presented. So they all started thinking about it. It's a wonderful guidance. Later on, it helped us throughout our estate management and throughout even in ashram. We come across, such thing, and then we try, this is what Papa did. So in nutshell, this is a manual, In Quest of God is a life manual. It is not it is a narrative of a spiritual aspirant or a Siddha Purusha. No. It is a life manual. Every chapter we see some tools for our effective management of our mind. Ultimately, it zeroes to our mind management. If we can handle the mind properly, we will be able to tide over any situation. This is the cream of Papa's message. Every time you handle the mind, you handle the mind in the way in which you should handle. So it gives us, so every chapter we pick out something, put it in our bag. These 37 chapters will give us some clues, some clues, some clues. Keep it in your bag, just like you keep your mobile. Whenever a situation comes, tuck, 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 you get some guidance. You interpret it in your own way, not in the way in which it is presented. Meaning, we integrate it with our own life, what God has taught us through our own experience and observation. That will give us the clue. Whenever we have to deal with such of these situations at the family level, professional level, social level, he gives us a manual with us. So in Quest of God is a life manual. It is not merely the narrative of Param Pujya Papa Swami Ramdas on his itinerant yatra. No. That is the instrumental cause. Just like the first, we thought that Aptoktim Kananam, if we dig more and more, plumb deep into it, we will find so many such clues emerging. And when we link it with our own experience, we have kept it in our bag. If we don't do that, we just hear and then go. So these are all some of the clues this in-depth study has given. When it took us 7 days even 7 days we couldn't touch everything. 1 year we took. Every week we used to share. Every week, 52 weeks, we used to share one portion. And then last December was the centenary celebration. So we had a 7 days program. Constant chanting of Ramnam was going on. And during the daytime, those who are not involved in chanting, they will all assemble in the ashram, big pandal and everything, where we used to have so many programs touching the various aspects. So in nutshell, In Quest of God is a life manual. There are so many such things. And suppose we are earnest enough, suppose you read one chapter, it will not take much time. 2 or 3 pages. Contemplate, delve deep into it, tally with your own experiences, and then you find what is the tool that is emerged that will remain with you ever. If anybody would ask anything, if it's possible, we will try to share.
Swamiji, I have seen from personal experience, some of these codes apply in your daily professional life all the time. This is some of these, even in management, we have training, it's there. For example, before COVID, we had in my workplace, I would sit in front of a vice VP. So he's been with us for a long time. So when something comes, I'll send an email response right away. He said, Neil, pause, think. You don't have to respond to everything right away. Wait. Don't
react
immediately. And that helped me a lot afterwards. So sometimes saying things.
It helps a lot.
Yes, only one question that comes. One is taking the name of Ram and remembering God in a negative situation when somebody abuses you. That requires a lot of sadhana or whatever. Because in that instant, we normally forget. That means my question is, I think we need to have some kind of inner strength, how to develop that strength, to remember Ram in this abusive situation. That means there is some work is, because the story you shared, right, of Swami's, that really illustrates something. There is some self-effort required.
That is why he has prescribed a triune path, chanting of his name with the right concept, and trying to bring in the dimension in all that we think, in all that we talk, and in all.
that is there, the life force, intelligence in us, awareness in us, within us. So we try to pause for a moment and consult Him. The other day we shared, you remember? Papa used to say, you must have a contact with Him. Every day spend about 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes to have a dialogue with Him. It need not be vocal. People may think you are talking to who? As soon as you get up, when you are alone, absolutely alone, it can be in the bathroom, it can be while walking, it can be while bathing. You talk to Him. You are there within me. I have intellectually understood. Otherwise, I will not believe. We have to intellectually understood. You are there in the form of life force, awareness. But when I deal with men and matters, you are hiding. You make me to see as a person and see the other one as another one. And because of that, so many complications arise. And you are keeping quiet. This is not fair. You develop a relationship with Him. Papa used to have that relationship. A wonderful mystical relationship with Him. So that first we try to understand His nearness. I must feel is somehow. The first bhajan he sang, you are with me, you have been with me. I have to keep on hammering. He is not outside. My visit to temple should make me aware He is inside. Through this He is making me aware. When I meet a saint, I should know you are there in my heart. So always try to think, Papa says, the God that you seek is within you. And He is always there to protect you. So the first, as a first step, we try to develop open up a channel of communication with Him in the form of a dialogue. Even if it is for 1 minute, worth it. Slowly you will find, He is within me. He is within me. He is within me. He is making me to talk. He is making me to think. He is making me to see. Otherwise, how will I see? A dead body is not seeing. I feel I am an individual. How do I feel? Because He is there. So all my discipline should zero to this. To somehow, 1 or 2 minutes, and next day you can complain. Yesterday, you did not make me feel your presence at all. You simply gave me a long rope and made me to get into some utter confusion. One father and daughter, I don't know whether I have shared it here. They were ready to go to school and office. So her mother, prepared the dishes and kept it on the dining table. The father came neatly dressed. The daughter came. As they were taking the breakfast, somehow the coffee or tea or whatever it was, that glass fell, and the entire thing was spilled out on his starched and ironed shirt. Immediately he lost his temper, shouted, abused, got up, went to his room, changed his dress. She was crying. He did not take the breakfast. So much of chaos, What could that housewife do? She was a mere mute witness. And he did not take his daughter also. He went to the office. There he knew that he has not taken the key. And when he came back, he saw everything in a disorderly way. Then he realized, after all, no English he will not do, Chinmayananda used to say, accident, the moment we hear the word, we give a lot of weight to it. But he says, unexpected incidents are called accident. It tones down, So it is not everything unexpected. It was a slip. He could have immediately said, don't worry, he could have gone there, changed his dress, had his breakfast, How do you react? Simple thing. Spirituality should enter there. There are no rights and wrongs here. How do you handle your mind? Yeah, that would be the better word to say. Spirituality should help us to handle our mind at all times when we handle men and matters. It gives us a technique by which we can handle the mind properly, and that handling the mind will become absolutely successful only when it knows its source. It gets riveted to the source. It's an interesting journey. That much we can tell you all. Very interesting journey. And you don't have to wear this dress, you don't have to retire from any of the field. Wherever you are, you can be there. All that you need is to handle your mind properly. It is a wonderful message Papa used to give. In every situation you can successfully handle it, provided you handle the mind properly. So In Quest of God gives us the needed tools to handle the mind so that we will be able to lead a peaceful life, blissful life, harmonized life, in harmony with the rest of the creation. Tomorrow we are leaving, so we are very, very happy to be here, so that so many thoughts, every time when we repeat it, it's a good sadhana for us. Not one time hearing. And he will mysteriously make us to think and connect it with so many things. He will ask, what are you going to do? We have no idea. Whatever that comes, at that particular time, he makes us to remember. Go to this page, go to this incident, go to that. So when we keep in regular prayer, and this sessions helps us individually to get connected with him more and more, more and more, more and more. This is the message he gives us. Go delve deep into anything. Hari Om. Thank you all very much.